Hello and welcome. My name is Brajay Williams, and thank you for joining the Bay State Banner Week in Review. First up this week, some good news for Boston ratepayers. If you get your electricity through the Boston Community Choice Electricity Program, your bills are about to get a little lighter. Starting in December, new rates will take effect, dropping about 4% below current costs for the standard plan. That's also cheaper than the basic rate offered by Eversource, though the city notes those savings can't be guaranteed over the full 2-year span since utility prices shift every 6 months. This all comes from the city's municipal aggregation program, where Boston Bulk buys electricity and resells it to residents. Officials say that model brings more price stability and better timing when locking in contracts. According to Oliver Sellers Garcia, Boston's Environment Commissioner and Green New Deal Director, the city benefits from longer-term planning, smarter negotiations, and the power of scale. There's also a green upside. The new rates coincide with an increase in the amount of renewable energy built into each plan, in line with statewide targets. City leaders are also positioning this as a safer alternative to competitive third-party suppliers, private companies that often promise savings but tend to raise rates sharply once their introductory offers expire. Advocates have long warned about those companies using aggressive sales tactics, particularly in low-income or limited English-speaking communities. Boston, meanwhile, is betting on community-based solutions, and this latest rate adjustment is part of that long-term strategy. Next up, we see just days after Boston's preliminary election, Mayor Michelle Wu is all but guaranteed a second term, after handing challenger Josh Kraft a landslide defeat. Unofficial results show Wu walking away with 71% of the vote, sweeping all 22 wards across the city. Kraft, he pulled in just 21,000 votes compared to Wu's 66,000 and ended his campaign 2 days later, saying he'd rather use the remaining $3 million in his campaign funds to support addiction recovery efforts in Boston. Wu, backed by unions, grassroots groups, and hundreds of city workers, delivered a ground game that was almost impossible to match. Supporters like Ana Gonzalez from the 32BJ Labor Union were out all day making calls, saying, "We need Michelle Wu to still be in office." Now, with no official opponent left in the race, Wu will likely coast to re-election in November. Third-place finisher Domingos DeRosa requested a recount, but with just 2,400 votes, he's still short of the 3,000 needed to qualify for the ballot. On the city council side, all 4 at-large incumbents look strong heading into November. Ruthie Lugini, Julia Mejia, Aaron Murphy, Henry Santana. The challengers trailing them, Frank Baker, Alexandra Valdez, Marvin Mathelier, and Will Anoha, but there's a 4,000 vote gap between Santana and Baker. So unless something major shifts, no surprise upsets to be expected. Only District 7 is looking spicy right now, where Saeed Coach Ahmed and Miniyard Culpepper will go head-to-head in the general. That was one of the tightest races, just 102 votes separating the top 5 candidates. Bottom line, Michelle Wu not only won the mayor's race early, she kept all her council allies in play. And with the full field nearly locked in, November is looking more like a confirmation than a contest. We all know trees don't just make a neighborhood look better, they make it feel better too. Cooler temperatures, cleaner air, and studies have even shown better overall health. But in Boston, those benefits haven't exactly been distributed equally. Neighborhoods like Roxbury and Dorchester have less tree canopy than many other parts of the city, and that matters when summer's heat kick in. Now, a new collaboration is working to change that. It's called the Partnership for Greening Dorchester and Roxbury, and it's being led by Zoo New England in partnership with 5 local organizations. Funded by Liberty Mutual, the initiative plans to plant 2,000 trees over 3 years, not just in parks or city land, but directly in the yards and hands of local residents and businesses. The program is already active, showing up at farmers markets, health fairs, and even hosting kids' tree planting events back in April. Josh Meyer, the zoo's curator of horticulture and sustainability, says community response has been very strong. Even if he hasn't done any official count quite yet, he's confident they're on track to hit the 1-year goal of 600 to 700 trees. But not everyone agrees on this strategy. David Meshalom from the nonprofit Speak for the Tree says all these different planting efforts across Boston, while well-intentioned, might be a little disorganized. When people take home free trees or shrubs, they also leave with info on how to take care of them and get follow-up resources by email. His takeaway, people are excited, they want to know how this helps, and we're here to show them.
Greetings, viewers, and welcome to The Intersection, the place where ideas, events, and policy come together to shape the public health, safety, and vibrancy of our shared community. I'm your host, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins, and together we'll examine a multitude of issues of interest as we travel along the many different avenues that make up The Intersection. It's just breakfast. That's how some might see it. But for a growing circle of men here in Boston, it's becoming something far deeper, a gateway to healing, brotherhood, and generational change. On May 11th, Breakfast for Brothers relaunched at the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center. And while the concept is simple, hot food, round tables, and real conversation, the impact is anything but. Born in 2010, this initiative was created as a space for Black and brown men to connect across generations, to share wisdom, to listen, to be seen, and in doing so to dismantle the old harmful notions of masculinity that have left too many young men without guidance and too many communities without stability. As sheriff, I see firsthand how the absence of mentorship and affirmation can shape a young man's path, especially in our justice system. This isn't charity work. This is public safety work. This is community healing. Each gathering begins with a nourishing meal, followed by a real, raw dialect on wellness, fatherhood, identity, and legacy. It's about showing up and staying present. It's about letting young men know they're not alone, and they never were. There's a deep need for this. Loneliness among men is rising. Emotional isolation, structural inequities, and generational trauma are compounding crises. Breakfast for Brothers meets those head on, not with lectures, but with presence. Not with programs, but with people. This work echoes a timeless truth. Our greatest resource is each other. Mentorship doesn't have to be formal or perfect. Sometimes it's just a voice saying, "You matter," a hand on the shoulder, a shared meal, a birthday song that breaks down walls built over years of silence. With support from our office and community partners like Mamleo and Roxbury Community College, Breakfast for Brothers is building a foundation, a place where young men can find belonging and older brothers can reclaim their role as cultural stewards. By breaking bread together, we can change one room, one table, one life at a time. To hear from the program coordinators of Breakfast for Brothers themselves, read our story in The Intersection over in the Bay State Banner. Scan the QR code or visit www.baystatebanner.com to read on. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay informed, stay involved. We'll see you the next time at The Intersection.
Next up, as the air gets colder and the leaves start turning, so does the focus on protecting our health this fall. Local efforts to keep Bostonians vaccinated against COVID-19 and the flu are running into challenges. Why? Because federal support for wide-scale vaccine access has pulled back, especially when it comes to COVID shots and even some childhood vaccinations. That's created confusion and a lot of concern. When the federal government shifts its guidelines, insurance companies often follow, making vaccines harder to access and more expensive for some people. But here in Massachusetts, state and city leaders are pushing back. The Boston Public Health Commission is stepping up with free vaccine clinics at City Hall and across many neighborhoods. No insurance required, and some sites are even offering routine childhood vaccinations for kids 5 and up. Health centers like Codman Square in Dorchester are leaning on trust built over years in the community. Dr. Renee Critchlow says the lesson from the pandemic still holds true. You've got to meet people where they are at, whether that's at a clinic, on the street, or through outreach. But the worry still remains. Mixed messages from the federal level are already making people hesitant. And that could mean lower vaccination rates, which lead to more emergency room visits and more hospitalizations as flu seasons hit. Dr. Ajakoto says health officials are preparing for the possibility, but how bad it gets will depend on what we all do in the next few months. The bottom line here is that science is still clear. The vaccines work, and they're available right here in Boston for free. In our next segment, a major investment in health innovation with local impact. Mass General Brigham has awarded the first ever $100,000 prize for excellence and innovation in community health to a company using AI to better connect people with the resources that they need. The winner was ThriveLink, a startup building AI-powered phone agents that help hospitals and insurers reach patients and link them to critical safety net programs like SNAP benefits, health insurance, and more. Two other companies were also recognized as finalists and received $10,000 each. May, a maternal health platform that works with Medicaid to connect parents with doulas and care coordinators, and Sober Sidekick, a social support app for people in recovery, helping them connect with peers and counselors. Kwamane Liddell, ThriveLink's founder, says the company's AI doesn't replace social workers. It supports them by cutting down on paperwork, so they can spend more time doing what matters the most, working directly with patients. And these tools may be arriving just in time. New rules under the Trump administration's One Big Beautiful Bill could bring added red tape to benefit programs like Medicaid and SNAP, requiring more frequent eligibility checks and even work requirements. Nonprofits estimate that in the Boston area alone, over 40,000 people could lose access to food benefits. And statewide, between 141 and 203,000 people could lose mass health coverage. Innovations like ThriveLinks could play a critical role in keeping patients connected, not just to care, but to the foundations of health. Next up, one of Boston's longest-serving cultural icons is stepping down, and a bold new chapter is beginning. After more than 50 years at the helm, Barry Gaither is passing the torch at the National Center of Afro-American Artists, Roxbury's premier black cultural institution. Gaither, who was personally recruited by legendary founder Elma Lewis back in 1969, built the museum, curated world-class exhibits, and kept black nativity. Running for over 5 decades, now at 80, he's moving into a new role as Executive Director Emeritus. Not quite retiring, but definitely reshifting focus. His hand-picked successor, Akiba Abaka, a seasoned theater producer, educator, and arts leader, and one of Gaither's longtime collaborators. She'll continue part-time for now while teaching at Orchard Gardens School, but a full-time permanent role is in the works. Once the center raises funds to grow the staff and expand its reach, board co-chair Coffee Meadows says Abaka's charge is clear. Boost visibility, build out both the visual and performing arts side, and raise $10 million over the next 3 years. The museum holds over 3,500 works, including a powerful collection of pieces by South End legend Alan Crabb, and a permanent exhibit on a Nubian king of ancient Egypt. It's Black Nativity. Production enters its 55th season this December, still the longest running of its kind in the world. Gaither leaves with mixed emotions. Pride in what's been built, but disappointment that more wealthy black Bostonians haven't stepped up to endow the museum's legacy. So do we. This isn't just a passing of the baton, it's a passing of a vision, a legacy, and a future for what black art in Boston is. In our next segment, we jump into sports. Mike Vrabel's third game as head coach of the New England Patriots ended up in a disappointing 21-14 home loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Patriots' self-inflicted wounds, particularly 5 turnovers, proved to be the difference maker. 2 of these turnovers came in the Steelers' end zone, derailing promising drives for us. He emphasized that ball security and decision-making are key factors that the team will continue to address. The Patriots' offense outgained the Steelers 369-203 and had more first downs, but the turnovers were too much to overcome. NFL teams with 5 or more turnovers have a dismal 6.5% win percentage over the last 10 years, making the loss almost inevitable. The Pats' home record at Gillette Stadium has also been woeful, now standing at 3-16 since 2023. Despite the turnovers, the Pats had a late chance to tie the game on a 4th down attempt. Rookie quarterback Drake May was forced to throw quickly, and wide receiver Demario Douglas, instead of going forward for the first down, tried to juke a defender and was tackled short of the marker. Probably knife, go straight up, but Douglas said when asked what he would do differently, Vrabel agreed, stating that while he didn't have the best view, Douglas' decision wasn't the right one there. But that is okay, and we always have next week.
Check 1, 2. The show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
Next up in college sports, college football is heating up, and right now it's the Buckeyes world. Everyone else is just playing in it. Ohio State sits at the very top of the rankings after 4 straight wins, including a gritty 14-7 opener against a stacked Texas squad that was ranked ahead of them in the preseason. That didn't sit right in the head with Ryan Day or his players. The Buckeyes followed up that win with a 70-0 rout of Grambling, then a 37-9 win over Ohio University. Freshman QB Julian Sayin has stepped up big, replacing veteran Will Howard and showing elite poise and precision. He'll be tested with matchups ahead against Washington, Penn State, and of course, Michigan. The rest of the top 10, we got Miami, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Oregon, Oklahoma, Florida State, Texas A&M, and Texas rounded about out. And speaking of Florida State, former Boston College QB Tommy Castellanos is thriving in Tallahassee. He's helped the undefeated Seminoles climb from 10th to 8th in the polls with 3 passing TDs, nearly 100 rushing yards, and a growing national buzz around his name. 2 more surprises from around the league. Indiana is off to a shocking 4-0 start, demolishing Illinois 63-10, and at Clemson, it's a stormy season. The Tigers fell to Syracuse 34-21, marking their 3rd loss in 4 games. That's got head coach Dabo Swinney on the hot seat, despite a career with 181 wins and 2 national titles. That's the college football roundup, or so. Powerhouses rising, underdogs biting, and one former Eagle flying high in Florida. And our last sports story. We see some inductees at the Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2025, the names being Maya Moore, Dwight Howard, Sylvia Fowles, Sue Bird, and Carmelo Anthony. The 2008 U.S. Olympics Me Redeem team, Billy Donovan, Danny Crawford, NBA pioneers Chuck Cooper, Earl Lloyd, and Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton headlined the marquee of this year's Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame inductees. Here are some of the memorable comments from the ceremony. We had Maya Moore saying, "One of the most profound aspects of team sports is seeing a group of individuals over time start to trust each other and play for each other. And in life, we are all teammates on this earth. That is where true championship culture exists." LeBron James spoke about the late and great Kobe Bryant, saying a member of the 2008 Olympic gold medal winning USA men's basketball team, saying Kobe was the missing link that they all needed to regain world dominance with the USA team. Sue Bird, a 5-time Olympic gold medal winner and a 4-time WNBA champion for the Seattle Storm, was the only WNBA player to win championships in 3 different decades. She was also the first WNBA player to have a statue raised to celebrate her 21-year professional playing career. And Carmelo Anthony, winner of 4 Olympic gold medals for USA Basketball, says, "I take my place in the Hall of Fame, but the real honor is knowing that I never walked alone. You walked it with me." There are many greats joining into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and they will never be forgotten. Many greats. In our last story this week, the world said goodbye to a legend. Robert Redford, the Oscar-winning actor, director, and founder of the Sundance Film Festival, passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 89. He died at his home in Sundance, Utah, surrounded by loved ones. Redford wasn't just a Hollywood icon. He was a trailblazer, a visionary, and a true believer in the power of storytelling. He rose to fame in the late 60s with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and went on to star in classic films like The Way We Were, The Sting, All the President's Men, and Jeremiah Johnson. But Redford wasn't just a face on the screen. He was behind the camera too, winning Best Director for Ordinary People in 1980. In 1981, he launched something that would change the film industry forever: the Sundance Institute, and later the Sundance Film Festival. What started as a small platform for indie filmmakers turned into the most important festival in independent cinema, launching the careers of Quentin Tarantino, Ava DuVernay, and so many others. But Redford's legacy went beyond film. He was an activist, fighting for environmental justice, indigenous rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and many more. He believed that art could spark real change. Tributes poured in this week from across the industry. Meryl Streep called him generous. Ron Howard called him a cultural force. Barbara Streisand said working with him was pure joy. And Bob Woodward, whose life Redford portrayed in All in President's Men, said simply, "I loved him." Even in his final years, Redford stayed close to the work, mentoring, advocating, telling stories that mattered. Robert Redford leaves behind a legacy that changed not just the movies, but the way we use storytelling to shift culture. A giant of cinema, a fighter for justice, and a man who showed us all that the camera could do more than entertain. It could enlighten. All right, that's a wrap for this week's Bay State Banner Week in Review. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Brigé Williams, and I will see you all next time.